Hello, everybody, and welcome to another applicant rundown episode of the Combot Collective, bringing you everything you want to know about the world of robot combat, from the Battlebots to the live circuit, from the heavyweight class to the flyweight class. I am, as always, your host, Sterling Brown, joined later on in this episode by Pory and Mr. Redman. We got the gang back for this episode here. I'm pretty excited about that as we run down 3 new applicants for the 2022 Battlebots Championship season. Teams hopeful to get into the big field in Vegas, and we got some interesting designs here. We have the returning Retrograde with their version 2 design, big 4-wheel drive setup. Looks like this Gobot can fight in Robotica. Looks like it might be able to scale to upper deck with the classic lifter and undercutter setup still coming back. But talking about some new robots here, we also have Horizon 250 coming from Alejandro Pina of the Axolotl team, along with some of the crew members that we saw in Globetrotter a couple weeks back when we were doing that application rundown video. Horizon is probably the most hyped up new robot that we could see this year. A lot of people have been talking about it, and we'll get to that robot in a second. But capping off this video will be Doom. It's a brand new robot that was revealed to all of us earlier on this month. I believe it was May 8th. This is an overhead hammer saw style robot. It has sort of that pyramid shape. Reminds me a little bit of Beta from the past Battlebots seasons, but with the hammer saw. Kind of a Beta blacksmith hybrid, I guess you could say. But we're going to get into that robot at the very end of this video. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, please give us a like, comment, and a subscription to our channel, the Combot Collective. Let's not waste too much time and jump into this applicant rundown.
Oh my God! Wow! This is the biggest flame we've ever seen. Has preserved enough energy to get in the flip on Carbine. We're gonna go all the way.
Welcome to the Combot Collective.
As we open it up here, we were talking about Globetrotter to end off the video last time we were doing our applicant rundown. We're starting off with another robot from this team. At least that's what we are believing. It's a bit of a shaky situation. We're talking about arguably the most hyped up robot during this whole off-season period. This is a robot that's been spoken about in all corners of the online robot combat community. And it really does feel like a surefire robot to see qualify for the 2022 championship. Let's talk about Horizon 250 here. This robot has quite a bit of history. Captained by Alan Belkin, I believe. It's either Alan Belkin or Joshua Kong. But we also have people like Kyle Leola and Dylan McKenzie also in this crew. They have a whole crew of people working on this unique robot. We have seen versions of this machine before fight in the past. Talking about Skyline is a robot that uses this exact same weapon system, going with a two motorized horizontal spinners on the end of this long sort of almost like a playground style weapon sort of ordeal going on here. Not playground, let me like a carnival ride sort of ordeal with these two weapons spinning, countering each other with their spinning ability, causing the whole arm to spin around. I'm really showing off my technical prowess with these words here, but I digress. It's a very unique setup here. You can see it in this video. Skyline, the 12-pound version of Horizon, has done very well in the past. They've seen it dominate events like Smashbots, and we've seen it have really strong appearances at events like Norwalk Havoc, which is a big deal. But we know they have applied in Season 6. They weren't accepted, and they have refined the design. You can find this picture of the design on the Battlebots wiki, and it's a lot more breathing, I would say. It has the self-riding roll cage system on it. As Mr. Redman was describing, it's sort of like a Stegosaurus, kind of a very scaly Stegosaurus kind of look to the arms with the protective bits on the ends. And then we have the blades. I'm curious though, what are your guys' thoughts on this robot?
Horizon looks fun. Horizon is a neat idea. Like it's not your typical horizontal spinner, which which as any usual listeners of this podcast would know, I'm a fan of the odd design, the oddball machine. That's why I like Tantrum winning. I like the way that it's got that, you know, a spinner on a spinner kind of idea. It's all turreted, so I like the idea that it's always going to be facing a weapon towards its opponent no matter what, and it'll always be dealing some kind of like spinner damage to it. Because I imagine like if that center turret spins fast enough, it could still do some like maybe bludgeoning thwacks here and there. Maybe that'd be quite interesting to see.
Right, you can at least find a way to score points even if you don't have one of your weapons working. Just sort of like a slugging arm, like you were suggesting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you're not gonna be able to do any. You're not gonna be able to lift anymore in Battlebots, but at least you can like try and smack him with a rotating arm. I think it looks like very fun. I think that maybe though, its complexity will probably have its durability be reduced by a tad. I mean, adding in all those gizmos may sacrifice a lot in terms of being like a tough machine, but I suppose they're sacrificing a lot of that armor for that just offensive power by, I suppose, utilizing offense as the best defense, really, with the continuously like aimed like horizontal spinners. It should be interesting, and I'm for one, I'm excited to see it. It seems like it's going to be able to self-right as well. It's roll cage design. I think that this has promise to be a pretty good design to watch, and I'm hoping that, like Tantrum and like the many other like off meta design spinners that we have, it will have some staying power.
Yeah, for sure. I do worry a little bit about the size of the robot some. Like, I do wonder how much this overhead module is going to be. I don't, if it's going to be kind of like the same weight as like a full body spinner head, because if they get like another horizontal spinner like a tombstone or an ice whip that can somehow damage that bit or take it off, this could be a very odd, bit of a rough situation for them, having them be like sort of like a tombstone gigabyte ordeal where the chassis is very underweighted, the main part of the robot I should say, and that ends up being a bit of a dilemma, though I am sure they have made some plans for that. We do know it is sort of an all offense kind of robot, hanging on with this sort of crown it has on top of it.
I definitely think that if any of these rookies are going to get in, I think Horizon is probably going to be the one that gets in out of all the ones that we've seen so far. I mean, there's a few other ones that I'm pretty sure will have a good shot, but I think that Horizon is probably the strongest one of like them looking at it. I mean, like, oh, this is a cool robot, it's unique, and it could potentially deliver. But yeah, I like the design. I hope it gets in. I think it will get in, and I look forward to seeing how it holds up as a 250-pound machine.
Like you're saying, I think it's gonna be a show stealer. It's gonna be an amazing robot to watch fight. I do worry that this is gonna kind of fall kind of in the wayside of like, oh yeah, it's really exciting to watch in a small class like the 12-pound class, but when you make it bigger, it doesn't really translate well. We kind of saw that with Smee over the past couple of seasons. Wasn't really as high as we were all expecting it to be. Still an amazing robot though. This is an amazing robot to look at, and I'm sure in some capacity we will see Horizon 250 fight. Hopefully it will be at BattleBots so we can see this crazy robot concept. By the way, I thought of something like this in 2017 called 21 Blackjack, but I digress. It's still an amazing looking robot here. Can't wait to hopefully see it in action as we now move on to our second robot, a robot very familiar to us. And now moving on down the list here. Last time we did one of these, we talked about the changes being made to Jackpot, robot that made top 16 this year. Well, now we're talking about a robot that missed the playoffs completely. Team BNS Robotics #2 robot, Retrograde, version 2, which has been announced all the way back on, that was about 4 weeks ago on April 25th. So this is a little bit of old news. We're finally catching up to it here. This is a big overhaul to Retrograde here. A lot of huge changes. This honestly looks like a robot that would be very good for Robotica here. High ground clearance. This robot is invertible. It can flip upside down. But they still have the signature lifter and undercutter. In fact, they can switch themselves to an overcutter setup by flipping the bot over to start off the match. The lifter kind of looks like it could do a full 360-degree motion given the design setup here. Kind of folds inward but kind of pops out like Slapbox from 2020. Very similar design to that. The team also says that there's going to be interchangeable lifter setups. According to them, very similar to Stinger to Killer Bee or Sewer Snake from the past. I don't know how much they can do with the long lifter to make it interchangeable. I guess we're going to have to see when they do more things with it. They also have announced that they will be bringing the flamethrower properly to this brand new version of Retrograde. That's going to be very interesting to see. I don't know exactly where it's going to factor in on the robot. Looking at the pictures here, I see something that kind of looks like headlights on the front between the wedgelets of Retrograde and by the lifter. Maybe that's going to be what the flamethrower is going to be. I'm not too sure though. There's lots of little bits and bobs so on this robot. It's a very unique robot. It kind of reminds me of a Metaloid from the Accelerator series. That's a bit of a deep cut there, but there's a lot of unique changes. I don't know if Retrograde season this year is going to be enough to warrant BNS for getting a second robot for a second season. That's all up to the Battlebots team themselves. What are your guys' thoughts on this brand new Retrograde?
So first off with this design, I like some of the ideas that they're going for. The robot looks like the Vic Viper from the Gradius games, which is cool. I don't know if it would get in necessarily, and I mean they obviously know what they're doing. They're obviously talented builders, obviously, and I mean Bloodsport is something that you could show for it. But Retrograde had, their first season and they had 3 fights, and quite frankly, they didn't really impress. Like their first fight, they worked okay, but like it didn't make TV. Their second fight, they didn't even use their undercutter, and that fight probably only made TV because they fought huge realistically. And then their third fight didn't make TV, and neither their lifter nor their undercutter worked in that fight. So they haven't really impressed, I think, and unfortunately. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong, but unless like there's a really ballin' like bounty run from Retrograde, I don't know if BattleBots is gonna necessarily accept this robot when they could accept another robot that would make for good TV.
For one, I don't know. I can't say much about Retrograde, since Retrograde I felt like got somewhat of a short end of the stick when it came to the previous season. Its first ever fight was inside of a YouTube fight, and ever since then, it's never really had any exciting battles. It's just kind of been there, really, and sometimes thrown in just to allow for the win. I mean, Retrograde versus Huge, that was more or less a wash.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think the design. I like the idea that they went a lifter spinner. I mean, at this point, you're gonna need some kind of spinner just to keep up with the BattleBots rule set in this day and age. And this new design seems to still factor in similar things. I kind of get some P1 vibes with it in how it's kind of working, but I don't know if it will stay on a even. I think with this design, I think it'd definitely be exciting to see it drive around, and I think it'd be good to actually have it. I don't really know. I mean, as far as we are aware, in terms of things, we know how much BattleBots loves its lifting weapons and clamping weapons. So we don't know if a hybrid will stick around. Hopefully, we may see that. But I would not be surprised if when it came to Retrograde in the future, they would have to drop that lifter in its entirety.
Yeah, I could see them maybe doing something like that. Maybe something along the lines of Mo or Ribot, because they definitely have a pretty beefy undercutter on there. I just, like y'all were saying, with the season that it had last year and the lack of impression it really made, the only reason why it made TV during that round 2 matchup was mainly because of Huge having such a one-sided affair with it, really getting on top of it, landing some real damage. And it's a shame. I thought the Retrograde may have been one of those bots that could have done something to Huge with how long its lifting arm reached out there, but unfortunately not. Retrograde really got tore up, and like y'all were saying, against some less than impressive robots like Rampage and Defender, they did not put up an exciting matchup. They just sort of flipped over Rampage quick. Defender was about as peak of a pushing match as you can get between 2 control bots. Just not much exciting going on there. I did look up what a Vic Viper is. I do kind of see the equivalent now. It is a very Starship kind of design, and that is sort of the reasoning behind the whole robot. I also see a bit of a Lunar Rover vibe out of it. I really would like to see this robot come around, and maybe they'll bring it to a live event, maybe something snazzy like that. But I think they need to have quite the showing if they want, like you were saying, quite the showing at Bounty Hunters if they want to get in with this robot, because it's just a far stretch right now. We've talked about it plenty in these application discussions, how many new robots are going to be coming into this new season, in terms of veterans, in terms of international teams, and in terms of some crazy teams like Banshee, 250-pound Horizon, and the robot we're going to be talking about here in a moment. So having a bot like Retrograde, you got to make some cuts, and I think that might be where it starts with a bot like this. And lastly, the third and final robot we're going to be talking about here is Doom, a robot that has really impressed me. This robot here is captained by Alejandro Pina and is your classic HammerSaw style robot. It is an oscillating hammer. They showed it in the application video. This thing moves quickly. They have a specialized armor. It is an AR500 and polycarbonate hybrid. Not exactly sure how that works or how that means, but I guess we will find out if this robot gets accepted. They have modular weaponry for the weapon itself. They have an axe head spinner. They have a classic disc spinner, among likely some other configurations. And the robot itself is a pyramid style shape. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Disruptor from Series 2 of Robot Wars, a robot that fought Panic Attack in the Heat final. But obviously, this being a hammer saw, not just a normal overhead saw arm style weapon. From what the video showed, like I said, this weapon looks like it can really go. And they do have some other features on this robot. Alongside the hammer arm itself, they also have Omni wheels on this robot, so we could be looking at a robot very similar to Shatter as and Ominous and Glitch that we've seen in the past. A robot that can really zone in on its opponent, get in there, land the strikes needed. We do have some other members on the team like Christopher Lynn and Maverick Henry. These people have their own expertise. Maverick Henry, in fact, being a person who works with drones. So maybe we can see some unique mini-bots coming into play with this robot Doom. You know, outside of some robots like Swamp Thing, Horizon 250, like we talked about earlier, Banshee, there haven't been too many robots that really impressed me as a robot that I would look at and be like, wow, I like this robot a lot. I want to see this robot take some action and compete in Battlebots 2022. But Doom, these guys have really impressed me with the structure of this robot. Team Captain Alejandro Pina showed off a lot of his other projects, including some prior versions of this Doom robot that he has worked on. So it seems like he's pretty serious about the concept, and it looks like he has the funding to get this machine working and happening. I really want to see Doom happen, but what is y'all's opinion on this brand new robot here?
I have a lot of positive things to say about Doom since, as the video, as agreeing with Greg Munson, I suppose, in the video.
Yeah.
I need a source on that, but aside from that, this robot looks fantastic. It kind of incorporates a lot of the more modern things that we're seeing in Battlebots as of recently into one design. You've got the Omni wheels, you've got the HammerSaw,
Big forks.
You got the forks. Yeah, it's got a bit of new everything in there, a bit of new stuff, and I'm a fan of playing the Doom games. I'm a fan of Doom Eternal. I'm a fan of the 2016 Doom, and it's just a pleasure to see such a hardcore, like, metal machine that's inspired by those games. And and I'm hoping that it does get in and it does well, because this is a fantastic I think this is a great design, and it's nice to always see something that's not your typical spinner. I mean, hammer saws are definitely not out of fashion yet. They're still somewhat fresh, so I think we can still squeeze a few in more before maybe they get a bit more drow in 2 seasons from now. It'd be if Doom can get in there, that'd be fab. And yeah, I think I'm really excited to see Doom if it does get through. And I'm hoping that they don't get sued for utilizing the Doom Eternal music inside of the video.
I think it'll be fine.
I'm still waiting for that on Spotify.
I like the design. I like the concept. I like the way the arm works. I do have concerns. My big concerns are, well, for one, I don't know if they'll have them change the name necessarily, but I do think that the logo might be a problem. Like you have a robot named Endgame, but like if it was like the movie logo on like the wedge of Endgame, then that would be a problem. You know what I mean? Like I don't think having the name Doom is a problem, but having the logo be literally like the video game logo, that might be. That said, I mean, I love Doom. The original Doom is one of my favorite games ever. So other concerns I have are that new oscillating style of arm. I'm worried that's gonna break easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no builder, so maybe I'm completely off the mark with that, and that's okay if I am. But I do worry that thing is gonna like end up like not working. And then my other concern, unfortunately, is that it's a hammer saw. We already have 3 hammer saws in Battlebots that are all like not the same, but like it's the same idea. I feel like if they accept another hammer saw, I think Soothslayer is probably gonna get in before Doom does, unfortunately. I could be wrong. Feel free to prove me wrong. That's fine. But I do worry with it being like I do worry about the idea of another hammer saw, not getting in.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Doom has some advantages with the fact that it is a US-based robot and suit slayer. I might be incorrect with this, but I don't believe they have too much heavyweight knowledge, or if any at all, behind their belts.
Well, from what I've heard, I heard that Suit Slayer and Voltergeist were apparently like dangerously close to getting accepted last year. Like they were like a hair away from getting in. Which I mean, it's probably better that they didn't, considering the travel restrictions and.
Yeah, blessing in disguise.
But yeah, from what I heard, Suit Slayer was very close to it.
Yeah, I knew Poltergeist was on the cusp for a while. I didn't know about Suit Slayer. I think Suit Slayer and honestly Poltergeist too. I think both those robots really need to get out to events like Robots Live and Extreme Robots, especially Extreme Robots for Suit Slayer's case. A lot of big spinners there. And show off their ability through that, or at least show the proof of concept of their design, because both those robots still have no official heavyweight fights under their belts, whether they're belts or not. I think that's a bit of a issue they have drawing on them. But talking about Doom itself here, I mean, I'm no too savvy with these roboteers that are on this team, like we were talking about earlier. But I do know Alex does seem to he seems to know what he's talking about. He seems to have the proper credentials to get this robot built. Obviously, with first-time teams, it's always nice to see something experimental, even if the experience for building combat robots isn't there. We saw that a little bit with Switchback right there, this year, I should say. But with Doom, like you were saying, there's a lot of pieces here that could go wrong with the Omni wheels, the special oscillating hammer arm, the weird armor that they're using. But we are just going to have to see. I like Doom, though, a lot. I love the theming. I love the music. I love the whole application video and presentation this team presents, especially if they really show off that theme with the robot itself, maybe in their uniforms or with their robot entry. I think this concept really does have some wheels on it, but we're just going to have to wait and see. And that'll do it here. 3 bots up, 3 bots down here at the applicant rundown. I really do feel confident that Doom and Horizon especially, are robots that we can see in this upcoming season of Battlebots. They are exciting designs with unique perks, especially for Horizon's case. This is a weapon design that we really haven't seen at the heavyweight class in any capacity, and I really do feel like this robot can be like Smee, as a robot that we've seen get hyped up and gassed up in so many ways over the live scene and in small bot scene, that can really, turn some heads when you bring a robot of this magnitude into the 250-pound arena. And for Doom, I just think this is it's a bunch of really good ideas mixed into one here, with the Omni wheels, with the overhead hammer saw, the strong, unique armor. They have a good crew of robots there. Mr. Redman put it best. It really does feel like a hybrid of a lot of things to make Battlebots good in this day and age. But on the flip end, we do have Retrograde. I just feel like Retrograde has had a bit of a rough season, and they don't seem like the type of robot that Battlebots is going to bring back for the 2022 championship. I'm happy to be wrong, and I would be happy to be wrong, because I do love the almost a Lunar Rover-esque kind of look to this machine here with Retrograde. But I guess time will be the judge for that. We're going to have to see. We know how Battlebots can be with lifters, so who knows? That's going to do it for us, though, here at the Combot Collective at this applicant rundown. I am Sterling Brown. You can find me on Instagram at SterlingTXTG. You can find Mr. Redman on his website, www.joshuagunnett.com, or on his YouTube page, Joshua Gunnett. Or you can find Porynog on his Instagram at Porynog, or on his YouTube channel, www.dippyegg.xyz, which is over 500 subscribers on the road to 1,000. We hope you enjoyed what you're seeing here at the Combot Collective during this applicant rundown. Like I said at the top of the video, if you like what you're seeing here, please give us a like, please give us a comment, and please give us a subscribe. And please follow us on our other social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. You can find those in the description below, along with our Discord community. That's where all of our videos drop first. Thank you so much for watching this applicant rundown here at the Combot Collective, and we will see you next time.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.
Oh God, fuck.
Oh, Christ.
Oh, shit, I'm sorry. I came out of fucking nowhere. I do apologize.